Hi everybody, it's Karen from Divorce Workshop. We have another special guest today on our Divorce Workshop series. Today we're talking to Kanika. She's coming all the way from Australia, and we're going to talk about conscious co-parenting. Just want to remind everybody that the Amazon just separated as we wait for our special guest to come on. And just waiting for Kanika to come on. There. She's an energy and conscious. Oh, there she is.
Hello, hi Karen.
Hello, how are you?
I am good.
It is,
It doesn't not seem to show me. I don't know what's happening here.
um, yeah, I can't see your face at all.
Yeah, I know. I know. I might just.
All right, buddy, just give it a few minutes. Oh, view request. There. Um, this is things with lives, right? You never know, especially because she's from Australia, so she's far away. Let's try to invite her on again. Anyways, today we're going to talk all about co-parenting, but how we do it more consciously, which I'm really interested in because she's an energy and conscious coach. So her tools and stuff are going to be really, really useful for a lot of us who are co-parenting. Just get her back on. Let's try it again. Hello.
Hey,
There you are.
finally, I think.
Yeah, hopefully this time you look good. So, thanks for joining us today. And I usually start off just asking a little bit to describe yourself a little bit about what you do before we start talking about our subject today.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for having me here, Karen, as well. I am Kanika. I'm an energy and consciousness coach. So I teach people how to work with energy because everything is energy, and you can just shift the energy around to literally change anything around you. So what that would mean is like if someone doesn't have money or if they're having any parenting troubles, they can literally just look at the energy of that, start healing that energy, and they will start noticing ease there in terms of money. They might start making more money. They might get more another job offered. Like for me, it's happened. I just found. I was thinking about it this morning that there were job offers that I just got out of the blue again and again as I kept simply just working my energy and not doing anything else. Um, with parenting as well, it's similar. You just look at the whole energy dynamics and you start peeling out layers of things in between, and it just takes the noise away. And then parenting just becomes easier. So, with my son, for example, I've noticed that when I've had a tough time with him without me physically doing anything with him, things have become a lot easier. He will come and hug me, like conversations have become easier, whatever I wanted him to do or If those things just got easier, so I guess maybe the nuts and bolts of it is that I teach people to play with energy, to manipulate the life around them and get it working the way they want.
And today our topic is, I was thinking about that this morning and yesterday, is co-parenting is hard enough. Like, right, it is a hard transition. It's a big transition. And so I think talking about this and how what we bring energetically too also affects everything, right? It affects our co-parenting relationship. It affects with their children.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm excited to talk to you about what do you see most with, like, that you help or that you see that people struggle with co-parenting?
Well, I think, so usually you co-parenting, most of my clients, they already have kids. Like, I haven't had pregnant women yet because then I suppose it's a little bit easier. At least, you've got some time to prepare. But when the child's already there and then you're splitting up, already the emotions are high because it's a very different environment. The few separations which happen really amicably, where both parties decide and they're 100% mature and they go like, oh no, we don't want to do this together and so on. I think even with that, there's a subtle power play. It's sometimes a subtle power play, or it's an overtly obvious power play, but it is a power play where we are just wanting to sort of dominate or feel one person's trying to be like, okay, I'm the correct one, and so on. So there's that internal battle that's going between two people, and then the kids are in the middle of it. And so it becomes very personal, and personal in the sense ego takes over a lot, where it's more about getting your point of view across or showing how you were the victim or showing how the other person was wrong. And often children can become the ones who suffer from it. Both ways, right? It's either the power struggle or it's whether your parent is the victim. Either way, like, for them, I think the good thing to remember is that for children, both the parents are families. If they're going to draw their family tree, the mom, the dad, or the parents, however they are going to be in that family tree, right? That's how the child associates their identity. And I guess it would do all of us a favor, even for us, it would, as adults as well, it would just be so much easier if we could think about the co-parenting from the point of view of the child and not think of it from the point of view of the adult, which is very hard during that time because emotions can be really high. But if we can just think of what is it that is in the benefit of the child, what is it that we want the child to have, or children to have, that is always a good start. And then trying to take yourself away from it as much as possible.
Yeah. If you think about it as if you become more conscious about your co-parenting, I think it's been researched that the other co-parent who could be angry or using that ego could also just over time slowly just become more less ego driven and more, you know what I mean? So I think it has that the connection between one of you trying to consciously co-parent and reducing that anger can also help with the other parent. Is that what you've seen as well?
Yes, that is what is going to happen. Because, so if I talk about emotions on the scale of frequency, right? So let's say apathy or sadness, frustration, they're all the lower levels of emotion. So as you start knowing neutrality and as you start going up, the higher levels of frequency, right? Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because there's two of you that's making the whole relationship. If both of you are vibrating at a lower vibrational level, this is where you are at now, whatever that is, whether that is sadness, whether that is anger, whatever it is, this is where you are. But guess what? One person picks the vibration up and one person goes, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. At least I'm trying to ignore this or just not respond to it and so on. But you have shifted the average. because one person can still be here, but you move the average up.
Mm-hmm.
And what will happen is slowly, if you're not responding to it, if that
Mm-hmm.
energy is not getting any
Mm-hmm.
feedback, it will start raising up. It might not rise 100%, it might
Mm-hmm.
do differently, but that's your own process of growing up as well. So when I look at it energetically or from a conscious perspective,
Mm-hmm.
why the split happens, or why kids have these parents who are going through maybe a messy divorce
Mm-hmm.
or whatever they have in their life, the story is that we all pick the key people in our lives. The good ones, the ones we love, the ones we really don't like, all
Mm-hmm.
of them, we pick them up before, very much before they were born. And even the person that you do not like, they've come to teach you some patterns. So maybe I'll ask you this, right? Look at the incidents that have brought you to this point where you are separating.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are that something similar, or the why behind the separation, chances are that something similar on those lines has happened before this, and some things happened before this, and some things happened before this. So, for example, if you're feeling like a lack of love with your partner, chances might be that that's sort of a string of stuff that's happened with you, and then there's something that's happened in your childhood. But it's even more interesting that you'll often notice that this is also what would be passed down in generations and families, like the whole family story. Look at what's happening with, for example, your parents and then parents before
Mm-hmm.
them. See the
Mm-hmm.
relationships there, and you'll start seeing a thread. So we try and think about it very logically, but I guess at some place, I can put the blame on every person I've met and every person I've not liked, and I can say they did this to me and they did this to me, and yes, I can prove my point. But one day I have to just face myself and go,
Mm-hmm.
well, I was the common person with all those failed relationships, with all those failed things, with all that negative experience that I did not like, I did not want. I was the common person there. And then that's the day I start making that shift. So even this bit where the kids are getting this, or whether I'm having this, there is a lesson for me to be learned, for each of us to be learned in that stressful environment of separation. There's also a lesson for our children. They've also picked it up. They've also picked up their parents very much knowing that something like this will happen down. This is an experience that they wanted to have. So just knowing this, and the more and more you start, or just have chats with me, watch more of my videos and so on, because it's a lot around energy, but it is all an energetic match that you are getting, and nothing in life is happening because you did not agree to it at soul level. But the day
Mm-hmm.
you realize that day life becomes a lot easier, and the whole pressure just goes away because you start
Mm-hmm.
understanding that all of this is more for your evolution. So then it, it the journey becomes more around your evolution. So that would be, okay, if I was vibrating here, how do I go up?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do I
Mm-hmm.
now not be that angry about this person who probably did not treat me right and so on? How do I do that? So it becomes more of my evolution. It
Yeah.
becomes more of peeling away the layers that brought in all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I did not like, and actually growing and actually expanding.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then teaching that same thing to our kids.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I agree with you. I noticed in my own journey the growth that I've gone since I've left, and I think for years, even with my own family, my father, there was a lot of patterns, right? We talked about, the patterns, and I changed my pattern, right? I finally, I shifted, and the last 7 years, there's been so much growth I've had, and to think of it that way, it does actually ease, right? Like it does kind of, as you said, it kind of makes you more aware of why we're here, and why it's important that you are you and you're doing this stuff, because I think it needs to be, we need more people to understand this, right? Like it's bigger than just being so angry at your ex, and and fighting, and it happens. I mean, especially in the beginning
Yeah.
of divorce. I mean, emotions are
Oh,
high,
yeah.
as you said, are like, we are not at a really high level. We're struggling, but after the beginning of struggle, you can really grow.
Mhm.
And as you said, spiritual too, right? I do have a question, like, from Vigo Fit. Love the topic. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I am keen to go deeper into my spiritual growth as a parent. Any suggestions on where to look?
Yeah, I think, well, everyone is a good mirror of where we are at, where we are vibrating at. Um, Children especially. So wherever especially you think that your kids are annoying you, or stuff that you just have to do. Like for me, the hardest one was, I was separating from my ex, and I had a son with him. I have a son with him. And it was very hard because I was not liking my ex at that time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Just
mm-hmm.
sending
It's
my son
common.
away again. Sending my son away at that time to go see his dad was very hard. But then you've got to go and think a little bit deeper and think, what is it that the whole relationship, or sometimes your child, is trying to show you as well? And what my child, what the circumstances were trying to show me at that point in time was how I needed to love more, how I needed to forgive. And
Mm,
I really had to work on forgiving. Like in the beginning, I remember there would be times where I would sit with my ex because we had decided that there would be, for example, my son goes to swimming, and that's would be our changeover time,
mm-hmm,
where I would either get my son or I would drop my son off to him. And that's also the time we took to just to talk about his school and things like that. But I would notice in the beginning that I was still feeling very angry or agitated when I met him, especially in the early on days. And then my target for myself used to be, well, I just want to sit with him and not feel like that. And so I would just keep running my energy and just keep feeling better and better and better. And
mm-hmm,
that sort of became my way. And then there was a time where, okay, we could just have a conversation and I would not feel anything. Coming to now, where you would see us and you would think like we are really good friends.
mm-hmm,
So I think just noticing what is it that your kids are trying to teach you. Sometimes that could also be like places where you feel, oh, my child just really needs this attention, or why is my child doing this? I guess put the prompt back to yourself and go, what is my child trying to teach me right now?
mm-hmm,
Because there's a lesson in that for you. And the funny thing is, the moment you get the lesson, like the moment you do it, like with my ex, for example, the moment I stopped, or I could, learn, I could forgive enough, I had let go enough, I was not holding as much anger. Like I don't feel angry with him anymore. And the situations or whatever I used to complain when we were married, those things don't happen anymore. Now, there are lots of reasons. I've put boundaries in between. He's understood those boundaries,
mm-hmm,
but those situations happen less and less. Similar with your children as well. So with my son, there was a time where I was feeling like, I'm not really feeling like a good mom here. I sort of felt like a little bit taken for granted. I wasn't like I was missing, I suppose, getting a lot of hugs or just hearing I love you. And I have a son. So but I was missing it. And so I looked at that in my meditation space. I looked at that when I was looking at energy, and I was just looking at the energy of being a mom. And what I noticed there was that I held pictures of me feeling I was a bad mom. And that was because of various reasons. So
mm-hmm,
for this life, for example, one of my places where I said I was a bad mom was, well, I separated him from his dad, right? He didn't have dad in the same house. So I was a bad mom.
mm-hmm.
So I
Common feeling. Yeah.
so I had to go in and just heal that bit for myself and work
Mm-hmm,
on that, uh, just that pattern conditioning. Um, and this is the surprising thing. There's nothing outside that I did with my son. I never even had a conversation with him. But when I could change that view about myself internally, and I started telling myself, okay, why am I a good mom? And it is, you know, mindset is a lot of it, but mindset is not all of it, because
mm-hmm,
there's mindset and you can have as much positive vibes about things as you want. but then you need to shift the energy, as in you need to really peel back the layers, because that's where all the foundation and everything happens. So you could think every time I can write the affirmations, that I can go, hey, I'm a good mom, I'm a good mom. But it would mean nothing till I've actually sat down and cleared those limiting beliefs in myself, like wherever I felt I was not a good mom, and changed that. And as I worked that, then I remembered that particular day, because my son's not a hugging kind of person at all. But I went to pick him up at school, and he saw me, he ran towards me, and he loved, like, gave me the nicest, biggest hug. And I'm like, gosh, this came out of nowhere. But it was just my energy work, because I started really feeling and owning that I'm a good mom. It just happened. It just transpired very simply and easily.
So how long does it, like, you've worked with people, so how long does it take, again, in general, like, because everyone's different, how long does it take to change that energy when you're going from, you started the divorce and probably emotions were heightened even before the divorce, to working toward where you are at now? Like, is there, like, you can talk about your classes in a minute, but what is the general, like, is there, everyone's unique, I know, but is there kind of a path toward that? Or some people are faster, or some people have more boundaries up, like,
Yeah.
or more energy to work through, or?
Yeah. Look, let me, I unfortunately I can't give you a very straight answer right
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
explain it, right? Like, think of all of us like Russian dolls. Like, there's this body that I have, there's this
Good
size that I
metaphor.
have right
Mhm.
now, okay? And then there's, when I peel the energy layer, then that energy, then I have a little bit more space. So let's say as a mom, or in the co-parenting relationship, this is the size that I feel with my ex, which is literally what I felt with my ex when I
Mhm.
separated, right? But then it's the amount of layers that you have. And sometimes when you start peeling them, they're not always straight, because sometimes they're like, sometimes it would feel like it's a layer with my ex,
Mhm.
but it could go into something deeper. Like, during my work, I found out one of my deeper layers was when I realized an abandonment wound. And my dad's never left me. Like, I haven't been abandoned, but as I looked further back into it, I realized that there were lifetimes where I was an orphan, I was left behind in relationships and so on. And so I sort of carried that trauma. So it really depends on what is the trauma you have and how much. So I can't really predict how much it will
Right.
take you. But what I can say is that all this, like unpacking, it isn't really hard. The bravery that is required is literally in you just sitting down. First of all, like, just kudos to everybody who's listening to this, because
Mhm.
simply just listening to this means somewhere you are ready for this. Because that's the first step, like ready to look within and go, okay, let me just have a look at myself. That's the
Mhm.
first step. But when you can just have that bravery, after that, it's not the hard bit at all. Like, if you're supposed to clean your house, the first thing you need to realize is, oh, I need to clean my house. And let's say this corner is very messy. Once you realize that, then you know whether you've got to use a vacuum cleaner, you know, whether you need to have a mop. If it's like if it's wet or something, you won't use a vacuum cleaner. But that's the bit, right? You just need to know that this space is dirty and I need to clean it. But once you get aware of it, once you understand that, hey, okay, this is my pattern, this is the belief, it actually gets a lot easier after that. So this is the first step, anyways, just becoming really brave. And then the tools are very simple, because every time, for example, I have just a 1 hour session as well. And in 1 hour, you'll notice a shift. In 1 hour, because you just sit down and you clean the energy. And sometimes that's great enough to take it to the next level. And what's the greatest thing about our spirit as such is that especially when you work with energy, it does not, like, it will give you as much as you can handle in the body. So if you're ready for more, it will give you a whole lot more. If you can just handle a tiny little bit at that time, it will do that. But all it needs for you is just to take that first step, sit down, have that intent, and then the rest will happen.
Right.
So you can start seeing shifts a, in a in a class, so in just 1 hour. Uh, if you're working energy, because, well, But even just 1 hour of working the tools, let's say you're having a really difficult situation, difficult conversation you want to have with your ex or a lawyer or so on, you could just work that in 1 hour and the conversation, the energy of it will be just so different. But all it needs is your willingness to sit down and have a look. Now, where the 1 hour can fail is if for whatever reason, you you don't you don't look within you, like if you but that is the beauty of the tools as well. One of the first tools that I choose to teach is called grounding. And grounding is very much the first thing it does is gets you in a nice calm space, so you're not as angry. You can really go inside yourself and do it in a nice easy manner. It doesn't have to be very traumatic. You don't have to really feel it. You don't have to live the whole experience, but you release a whole lot of the trauma, so it becomes a lot easier. So I guess the main thing just is giving yourself that time and allowing yourself to look within.
Yeah, so let's talk, like you have some wonderful programs that I know you're in Australia, but you still that you do accommodate the times really well. I mean, look, you're 10:30 there almost, right? Is that correct? And we're
Yeah,
on a live, so I know you do um, some really good workshops that also that people can try if they're, because this, as you said, and I love what you said, like even being here or listen to this later is an awareness, is a first big step, right? So I love that.
exactly.
So
Because how many people would look at this and go, okay, I need to now fix something within myself, right?
especially with when you're going through such a big stressful thing of divorce and co-parenting, and we always want to blame the other person, which is a natural thing to do, like, well, I'm the better parent.
Yeah,
But you're right, like if you look at ourselves too, right, we have to take some accountability and some healing. And I think this is also what you're really good at too, is the healing too. There's some healing component of this.
exactly.
My feeling is.
Yes, because every time, and you don't do it just for the child, you also do it like when you look at the whole energy and you just clean the energy, suddenly what starts happening is that, you know, like in between, normally your conversations would perhaps have a lot of ego or power struggles with them. But suddenly, when you work the energy, what it does is it just cleans out all that foreign interference,
Mm,
all the expectations, all the judgments, all that gets cleared about. So suddenly, like let's say you were going to talk about, the school, or you want to talk about pick up, drop off times, or you want to talk about the particular days where you're looking after the child, but suddenly the conversation will become just that and nothing else. It doesn't, when you clear the energy, so it doesn't bring in the past and the the future, and this is what you
mm-hmm,
did that time and so
mm-hmm,
on. It takes all of that drama away and it just brings that. And then, especially as you've grounded it and you've held the energy there, the conversation can be very conducive
mm-hmm,
because it is allowing both people to just say what they want to say without that extra noise. So it gets a lot easier.
mm-hmm,
And that's why I said that even just 1 hour of looking at it will get you results. But the more results you want, like you will want to keep doing it
mm-hmm,
more and more because, like, let's say you've had one good conversation, then you go like, okay, now I had a good conversation. Well, maybe we want to decide, about the next December holidays or something like that. And we want to talk about that. All those agreements, those things, or maybe there might be different opinions you have about your child growing up, them having a phone or going to a particular party or that sort of stuff. But all of that can become a lot easier the more you can play with energy and release all the noise and drama out of
and
it.
what a gift for you, like, really. But what also I was thinking there when you're saying that, it's also a gift for your child, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally, because you bring them more from a place of being raised in different places, but still knowing that they're loved. Like my
Mm-hmm,
child, and I had a very like we didn't have an amicable separation at all. It was a very shocked separation. It was a good power struggle as well. Um, and So my son had witnessed that. He was around 4, so he didn't. It's not that they don't remember; they have
Mm-hmm.
memory around 4, like it's pretty fresh. And then I think I was in the car with him around when he was 5, and I was driving, and he's like, "Mommy, so now you can stay with Daddy." And I'm like, "Why?" And he said, "No, you are happy with him. Like you told me you were
Mm-hmm.
not happy with him, but now you are happy." But it just means this is how he's seeing us now. And I'm like, no, I think we're just both happy like this. We are
Mm-hmm.
happy to separately, we are a lot happier. But it can become a lot more like that. Uh, and your child grows up knowing that it doesn't have to be animosity in between, like you
Mm-hmm.
raise the
Mm-hmm.
child up a lot better. So our son and the parents that I coach as well, for them, it's easier that parents can be on the same side. Kids are feeling still supported because kids, for them, that is their identity. With
Mm-hmm.
both the parents, that's their identity, right? So as much as I might sometimes feel like, hey, this is what I should talk about, that and so on. Um, but it just uh, pays to bring them up in a nice, safe
Mm-hmm.
way, give them that safe environment, because then they grow up as safe people. They grow up feeling loved. Like we might, in our power struggle or ego conversations, we might feel like I've got to win. But you're
Mm-hmm.
really damaging your child for,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're really damaging their foundations in doing that,
Yeah.
because you're telling them half of their part of, who owns them or who is probably not loving them or is not taking care of them. All those stories, they're just not doing your child any good at all in any
No,
way.
and I think it's really good because I see a movement in the divorce world too of specialties like you and others, or even myself with the grief stuff, is that is let's do it better, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm from a divorced family from the 70s, and my parents didn't know what to do. There was no real books. There was a lot of stigma on my mother still, and there was no they did the best they could. But I think that there's been a real movement in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of really trying to get people help and supportive through all this journey, and to make it better for the children, but also better for yourself as well. So on that note, so tell us about, before we wrap up, I know you have great, some great workshops and some things that you want to let everybody know what you do, because it's really good work.
Uh, Thank you. And thanks, Karen. I have to really, call you out as well. Like, just give a shout out, because it's amazing the work that you are doing in helping parents go through this time as well. Like, the world does need more people like you, and
Mm-hmm.
more people just bringing more love into the world. That's really
Mm-hmm.
important for everyone. In terms of my offerings, there's a course that I am launching. It's called Conscious Parenting Course. It teaches parents how to consciously parent, like how to see what their children need and how to really help them evolve, empower them, but also come from a really more empowered and a fuller space. So if anyone's interested, just DM parent, and I will be more than happy to show you around, to tell you about it, because it is a very special offering. It comes with a lot of support. There are workshops that happen with this. So they're like group workshops. There's self-paced courses in here. There's also like live energy healing sessions that we do
Mm-hmm.
together as well, where you learn how to really work with energy. And it's a course that just does not limit you to parenting itself. Like, I bet 2 months into it, you would have different relationships, like just a very different relationship with you and your relationship with your friends, with your parents. Everything will
Mm-hmm.
be positively impacted with that, because there's just so much that you will start learning. We just probably covered this tiny bit. Um, so it's a very special course. It's very dear to my
Mm-hmm.
heart, because this is what my sons taught me. This is what my daughters taught me as well. So it's definitely, yeah, this one's really dear to me. And I know that it will empower anyone who comes for this one. It will be a thoroughly enlightening and empowering journey
Mm-hmm.
for them, for their kids, and for them, and for everyone around them and their ancestors as well.
Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. Um, Anything, any other, do you have another program as well?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I do have a moon meditation circle.
yeah.
Um, and this one is for the ones who don't want to really go very deep. This is a moon meditation circle. This is where you just come in twice in a month, because we do it every new moon and full moon. And we get together, we have some playtime, we have some art time, we do a little bit of the journaling sometimes. And every time you shift the energy, like very recently, what we did around Halloween, we talked around honoring your shadow. So that was literally like we all have some forgotten parts. You know, someone told me at some time, like, hey, shut up, like, don't speak that loudly or don't dress like this and so on. And so you
Mm,
stop, you sort of hide those parts away. But as you hide those parts away, you're also hiding your power. And so it was just around getting those parts back and just really expanding and just owning our space and being more of who we are. So this is a very sacred circle as well. Um, yeah, it is. I call it more like a guided transformation journey.
mm,
So, like you mentioned, Karen, there are lots of people on their own growth journeys. But a lot of times, what I find is people don't know how to really shift, like what to do, and their growth can be sometimes staggered,
mhm,
especially if someone has an awakening and then they're like, oh my gosh, and then I didn't know what to do. And it's like they're banging walls.
mhm,
So
mhm,
this course is very much around giving that helping hand because there's a lot of support here. I'm there. There's a nice support group there. And we get together. It's not as busy, but it is a time where we can all come together and you will still see very tangible shifts in your life in every area that you want to work it to. So whether that is financial freedom or whether that's having a better career, whether that's starting your own business and so on, the Moon Meditation Circle just gives you that support. It's just that sacred community that um, that everyone should have on their growth journey. Because I wish
mm,
I had it.
mm. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing of today, right? Is like if I look back at my whole history with my parents as well as my own divorce, I think that's why we get into this field, right? Is because we want to help others, right? So, she wants to know, Vega Fit wants to know where can you look you up on your website if you want to give her that, give people that information.
Yeah, definitely. So you can just find me at artoflifecenter.com. So that is ART, art of life, LIFE, and center is CENTER. So it's pretty much like my Insta name except for the the. So it's artoflifecenter.com.
Great. And I know you're coming back November 20th. Um,
Yes, thank you
6:30
so
my
much.
time, 7:30 your time, right? 7:30 a.m. your time. And
Yeah,
I think we're
yeah.
talking about empowerment. So I look forward to having you back on. Thank you for staying up. And if anybody has any more questions, let us know before we say goodbye. Otherwise, it was a pleasure to have you on, and I love the work you're doing. So,
Thanks a lot, Karen. I could just say the same as well because definitely the world needs a lot more people who are
mhm.
helping people during grief and so on. So thanks so much for having me, but also thanks a lot for the amazing work you're doing because people need people like you.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks for being on, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Bye,
Thanks so
everybody.
much.
Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.